Welcome back. Now in this section we're going to talk about connecting Python with MongoDB, and first thing that we have to do is we have to install a package that lets us do that to make our life a little easier, and that package is pymongo. So what I want you to do is install pip install pymongo, and that's basically it. Once you have installed pymongo, everything is pretty simple. I have already installed it, so I don't have to worry about it. So now I have installed pymongo, so let's get right into it. First thing we're gonna do, we're gonna import pymongo, and we're making a connection here. First thing you have to do is make a connection. So when you make a connection, it gives you a client back. So if I do pymongo dot mongo client, I'm basically making a Mongo client. And so this is where I pass in where I'm taking the connection from. If you didn't do anything, if you just installed it, this is your base connection of MongoDB. Like, it is sitting there on localhost if you use the default settings, and it'll connect successfully. So now this is the connection. I have made the connection with MongoDB. Like, this is the way to do it. You have first here, here you're gonna have MongoDB. So MongoDB colon, then you follow localhost. When you're using real servers, like let's say online server like Atlas, MongoDB Cloud, you will be given a string like this address where you can connect it, a similar address. For now we're running on the localhost. Localhost is just, think of it like a server which is running on our machine, and so this is the way to do it, MongoDB and then the address. You will have the same thing, and if you can't connect, you can ask any question you have. But now that we have created a client, first thing we're going to do is get the database. And remember that there are different databases. This is how data is arranged. There are different databases in the database. So the client, by the client, you can access, think of it like a list. So you have a lot of databases. Now I want to have my own database, and let's say I create a database called lib. Now if this database doesn't exist, it will create one when you insert the data, and if that database does exist, it'll just connect to it. So we created a client, pymongo.mongo client, and we pass in the connection string or the address where our database is. We connect it, we have the client. We are the client, we're using it. This is the client of MongoDB that we request, and it gives us stuff. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff with this. Now I have a lot of databases in my client, and in those databases I have a lot of collections, and a lot of collections have a lot of records. Now I didn't show you this before, but I'm gonna explain it to you along the way with code, which is much more simpler. So one major thing is the database, that this big structure, because it's a database, it can handle a lot of different databases. I can have a database for my my X application, and for Y application I can have that for some sort of a to-do list application. I can have my database for a library management system like this one. So I get my database for lib, or library, and this database will have a lot of connections. To create a collection, you just do this, db books. That's it. You've made a collection, but it will not exist unless you add something into it. So let's say I store it in a variable. Now I've done that. Now I have books collection. I have the collection, and I can insert some records into it. So let's start inserting one record into it and see what happens. So if I do books.insert one, and I can pass in the dictionary here. I'm sure that I'm making everything clear here. If you have any question, you can ask. But in insert one, it'll insert one record into my collection. Let's say I pass in name, Atomic Habits, and author James Clear, and published as 2019, let's say. And I have to run this code, of course, so I'm gonna just go with into the terminal, and I'm just going to say python insertion.py, and my code has run. Now what? Now how do I know? Well, we have some queries that can give us what is going on here, but we're going to go into that later. First of all, I'm going to introduce MongoDB Compass. So I'm just going to search Compass, and I can get MongoDB Compass here. So I'm sure that everything is clear so far. What we have done in the code, we have made a client, we have connected to that client, we have then searched for our database. If it doesn't exist, it will make that. Then it'll go into the books, which is the collection, and then we insert one into it. Let's see if we have it. So here we can just connect, just press connect, it'll automatically connect to the local host. And as you can see right here, and I have a lib here, which is the database, and I have a lot of collections. This is the collection that has a lot of records, a lot of documents. And I have this document that I had right here. That's how you insert something. Now, there are a lot of ways to do this. We can insert, for example, there's another method for insertion I want to share, which is called insert many. Insert many can insert many records. And to insert many records, you pass in a list of dictionaries, a list of dictionaries. So first dictionary is going to be another book. We can just simply place it like this. You can just change the name to something like Good to Great by Jim Collins, published in 1993, I think. And another dictionary, let's call it Live 3.0. Call it Max Tag Mark. And it was published in, I think, 2017. Yeah. So let's run this again, and let's not run this because we've already run this. It'll add it again. We don't want that. And it'll easily add it. And if we go to MongoDB Compass again, we'll see that if we refresh it, we have 2 more records. And you can see that this object ID is of course created as we discussed in the last one. And so this is how you insert, and I'm going to recap the whole code again. First thing we do, we import a library that lets us, communicate with the MongoDB database. To communicate, you have to get the Mongo client and pass in the connection string where your connection for the MongoDB database is. It's running on your computer. Then you connect to the database, and which database? The database right here. As you can see, there are so many databases here in my MongoDB database, MongoDB server, and I can choose any of those databases. For example, anything like idea farm. Let's say I have a database with comments and different things, different collections. This is a collection. Like our library system, we have a collection called books. Each collection has a lot of records. You can see here, then when we have the database, from that database we can get a specific collection. If there is no collection, MongoDB will create it for you, but it will not create you the collection just spontaneously. You'll have to insert one record, and when we insert, we see that the records are indeed inserted. So I'll see you in the next lecture where we'll talk about other MongoDB methods, especially the querying, the updation and deletion. How do we do that? So I'll see you in the next one. Till then, take care.